recently landed my dream job without even applying for it, and I also managed to find the most perfect house to rent after only looking at two in a time where there really aren't many around. And this didn't happen by chance. It happened because I started using a new manifestation technique that's actually backed by psychology and neuroscience. It's incredibly effective, and the best part is it takes zero effort. So if you're bored of using the same manifestation techniques and seeing little results, then keep watching. My name's Georgia. I have a master's degree in consciousness, spirituality and transpersonal psychology, and in my free time I love to research manifestation and the science behind shifting our reality. Now today I wanted to share with you a manifestation technique that I've recently started using that has really changed the game for me, and it's easier than any other technique I've ever tried. And I know it sounds too good to be true, but there is actually psychological and neuroscientific reasoning behind why it works. So if you're feeling stuck or exhausted from using the same manifestation techniques but seeing little results, then keep watching, because I'm going to tell you the problem with the more usual manifestation techniques, and I'm also going to tell you the effortless technique that I've been using, as well as the science behind how it works, and also a couple of tips for applying it. So first, let's go over why other manifestation techniques might not have been working for you. So you might have been doing the affirmations, the scripting, the visualizations, and yet you still feel stuck. Why is that? It's likely because this reality that you're trying to affirm, the affirmations that you've created, the scripting that you've been doing in line with your desired reality, hasn't actually been wired into your subconscious. Basically, the reality that you're trying to affirm is conflicting with your existing beliefs. And your reality is to a large extent a reflection of your subconscious beliefs. So if you want to shift that reality, then you have to shift your beliefs at a subconscious level. But what the problem really comes down to, and what is actually stopping your manifestation techniques from penetrating your subconscious mind, is your conscious mind. Your conscious mind is currently acting like a barrier because the reality that you're trying to affirm conflicts with your subconscious beliefs. What we need to understand is that your brain naturally filters reality to fit with your beliefs. This is called confirmation bias. So basically your brain really loves to be right. So if you believe something, then your brain is going to seek out evidence to confirm that thing, and it's also going to filter out anything that conflicts with that belief. So if you believe that people in general aren't very nice and they're out to get you, then your brain is going to serve you evidence to confirm that to you. So you are going to notice every instance where everyone isn't so nice to you, and you're also going to filter out any evidence that would confirm to you that some people actually are really nice people and would be willing to help you. Any evidence that conflicts with what you currently believe, your current worldview, is blocked out by your conscious mind. So if your current beliefs conflict with the reality that you're affirming or scripting, then your conscious mind is going to reject that new information. So let's look at another example. Let's say that you are trying to manifest money, and so you have been affirming to yourself that I am rich, I am abundant, money flows easily to me. But this is something that you don't currently believe on a subconscious level, maybe because it's something that you've never experienced. The reason doesn't really matter. What matters is that your subconscious beliefs don't currently align with those affirmations. So what happens is your conscious mind flags these affirmations and prevents them from going deeper. It basically blocks them from penetrating into your subconscious mind. Now, this isn't to say that techniques like affirmations and scripting don't work. They do work, and they can rewire your subconscious mind, and I've used them many times in my own life. But the thing is, if you're going to rely on those kinds of methods, then you really need to be consistent and also use emotional engagement if you actually want them to rewire your old beliefs. Basically, these techniques require a lot of effort and they're not a quick fix. So if you're bored of waiting for results and want a method that is much more quick and effortless, then I have just the technique for you. So the technique that I've recently been using is that much more effective precisely because it helps bypass that conscious barrier and reach your subconscious mind more directly. Imagine it like this. Imagine that you are planting a seed. In this analogy, the seed is your subconscious beliefs. Usually you have to dig that hole before you can put the seed in. However, with this new technique, the hole is already there, so all we have to do is put the seed straight in. We're bypassing that effort of digging the hole in the first place. So the technique that I'm talking about is subliminals. So what are subliminals? They are essentially like affirmations, but there is a very key difference. The difference is that they are played at a volume that is below your conscious threshold. So, in other words, your conscious mind can't actually hear them. The only thing you can hear is the music or the sounds that have been layered over the top of them. The idea is that because your conscious mind can't detect them, then it can't argue with them or block them. And so your subconscious mind can process these affirmations more freely. All you need to do is find a subliminal track on YouTube that aligns with whatever it is that you're trying to manifest and just play it. You don't even need to hear the affirmations. You can't hear them because they are below the conscious threshold. You just literally need to play that track and put it on while you're doing whatever else you're doing or while you're falling asleep. So this idea does link to science. It basically relates to a psychological concept called subliminal priming, which is where stimuli presented below conscious awareness can actually subtly shape our psychological experiences, like our thoughts and our emotions, and also other unconscious psychological processes. Studies have shown that subliminals can influence things like our mood, our attitude, our recognition memory, and that they're often more effective than supraliminal stimuli at inducing changes. Now, supraliminal is basically the opposite of subliminal. It means stimuli that are presented above the conscious threshold, so things that you are actually consciously aware of. And the reason that subliminal stimuli tend to be more effective is because our conscious mind can't scrutinize the attitude changes induced by the stimuli because it's not aware of them in the first place. And in fact, the further below the conscious threshold the stimulus is, the stronger its effects have been shown to be. I want to briefly tell you about a study in which this showed that subliminal stimuli have a significant influence on recognition memory, which is an unconscious psychological process. So what happened in this study is they gave participants a list of words to look at. After they were showed the list of words, they were tested. So now they were shown words one by one, and the task was basically for them to decide whether the word they were being shown was in the original list. But here's the twist. Before they were shown each word, they were briefly flashed a masked word. So basically, they were shown another word first for a very brief period of time, which was then masked by something else like pound symbols. And so, before they saw each of the test words, they were shown a masked word, but this masked word was basically below the threshold of consciousness, so they couldn't actually see the masked word. Now, in some instances, the masked word would match the test word that they were being shown, so the masked word would be music, and then the test word would also be music. But in other instances, the masked word would not match the test word. So the masked word might have been chair, and then the test word again could have been music. The results were striking. When the masked word and the test word were matched, participants were significantly more likely to claim that it had been on the original list, even when it hadn't. So what had happened here is that those subliminal stimuli, the masked words, had created this subtle feeling of familiarity, which made the participant feel like they'd seen the word before, and so they deduced that that word must have been on the original list when it actually hadn't been. However, when these masked words were presented above the conscious threshold, so when they were used in a way that the participants actually did notice them, then the effect was reversed. And so this shows that this unconscious psychological process, in this case recognition memory, is more sensitive to subliminal stimuli than it is to stimuli that are presented above the conscious threshold. So this is just one example, but what it shows is that subliminal stimuli can have significant effects on our psychological processes. So this is the kind of reasoning that underpins subliminals. The idea is that by bypassing the conscious mind and using affirmations that we can't consciously hear, the idea is that they're going to be able to go straight into our subconscious mind without our conscious mind blocking them or arguing with them. So the idea here is that subliminal affirmations are going to be much more effective at rewiring our mind. In my personal experience of using subliminals, they really do seem to work. Like I mentioned, I recently just landed my dream job and I didn't even have to apply for it, and I also found the most perfect house to rent in a housing market that really is quite difficult at the minute. And all of these things just happened so perfectly aligned. It was kind of like crazy timing, and it all happened after I started listening to subliminals. So if you want to have similar results and try subliminals for yourself, then I have 4 tips for you. The first tip is to be careful with the source of your subliminals. Obviously, because subliminals are below the conscious threshold and we can't actually hear them, we want to make sure we're getting them from a trustworthy source, because you want to make sure that whatever you are putting into your subconscious mind is obviously a positive thing and going to benefit you. So the ones I've been listening to are Subliminals by Lisa Alexandra, who is another YouTuber. She has loads of amazing subliminals and she has always given me really good vibes, so I trust her subliminals and I've been having really good results, so I feel confident recommending those. So the second tip is to listen to subliminals as you fall asleep. So this is really where you start to see that it takes literally no effort, because all you have to do is get in bed, press play on your subliminals and fall asleep. Now the rationale behind why it's good to do it while you're falling asleep is because when we're falling asleep we go through different brainwave states, and one of those brainwave states is theta. So theta is kind of when we're in that half awake, half asleep state, and theta is the brainwave state that you're in when you're being hypnotized. It's basically when your subconscious mind is wide open. And so we really want to take advantage of that by listening to these subliminals as we go through that brainwave state. This is also why children up to a certain age are more programmable than adults, is because they exist in these theta brainwave states, whereas we as adults mostly exist in beta brainwave states when we're awake. You can still listen to subliminals throughout the day as well. They're still going to bypass that conscious barrier, but I would just recommend taking advantage of that theta brainwave state as you are falling asleep. And of course, again, it takes literally no effort. You probably couldn't find another manifestation technique that requires less effort than this. The third tip is consistency. You might see pretty instant results when it comes to subliminals, I know I did, but if you really want to use them to rewire your subconscious mind and make these beliefs permanent, then try and stick to a subliminal for at least a month, and so that you really create those new neural pathways and strengthen them. It's when a thought pattern really gets wired into your mind that it becomes a habitual thought pattern, and that's the stage at which it kind of becomes an actual belief of yours. So if you want to override your old beliefs that aren't in alignment with the reality you're trying to create, then pick a subliminal and listen to it at least for a month, so that that really gets wired into your mind. And like we said, your outer reality is a reflection of your internal reality, and so if you really want to see long-lasting changes in your life, then you want to wire that in deeply, because eventually your life is going to come to reflect that in many different forms. My final tip is to set an intention before you use your subliminal. Even though this is basically a zero effort technique, if you set an emotional intention, then you can help maximize the effectiveness of that subliminal. Because if you think about it, when you set an intention, then you are already exercising that neural pathway that is associated with that intention. And so in a way we could say you're helping to activate it, getting it ready for the beliefs that you're about to really wire into your mind. Now, if you want to learn about another effortless manifestation technique that you can pair with this one, then you can watch this video here. If you combine both of these techniques and ways of living, then you're really going to get in a flow with the universe, and things are going to start happening for you so much more effortlessly, and manifestation is really going to become much more of an unconscious process for you. Thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed, and I hope to see you in the next one.